Hi there. Happy Friday. Today we're talking about signs that you are ready to manifest what you really want. What you really, really want. I'm going to dive straight into to some of the factors, all right? So, in life, like we've got our front, the goals that are in front of our mind, and then we've got these dreams which kind of like sit in the back of our mind. Now, when those dreams start to come to the front of your mind, like your real goals, the things that you really care about happening. For example, you want to change your life. So it's not a tangible goal, and it's not like a one thing, it's like a big thing. And that was sitting at the back of your mind, and then it starts to come to the forefront. It starts to become clearer and clearer. Around this time, things start happening internally and externally. And these are signs that what you really want is on its way. Now, the funny thing about this whole thing, about your dreams and the things that you really want coming into manifestation, becoming, coming into physicality, is that the step right before that, it's like, it's not really a test, but it's more so can feel really strange and sometimes can actually feel like challenges, kind of like not a test, but it's almost like the universe asking you, like, do you really want this? And it's not so much a test. It just, I'm trying to describe it like it's, it's, it's like a glitch in the matrix, if you know what I mean. Like, here's your everyday life, right? So think about, Groundhog Day. You're living your everyday life. It's the same most of the time. And then the thing that you really, really want at the back of your mind starts to come forward. And around that time, random things start happening in your occurrence that make you think sort of like twice, like, why is this happening? Or, why did that come along? Like, why is it making so hard? But it's not that it's so hard, it's that these moments just appear really foreign. So let me give you an example. When I first came back, when we came back to Brisbane, I was in a really rough place, and then I started doing small things to make life a little bit easier for myself. So they weren't like my dream things in my life. They weren't what I thought I was going to aim for, but they were just things to put me in a better headspace. And I think a lot of people forget about this stage. I I think like sometimes we can come from the existing point of view and then this is where we want to be, but there's like a little bridge, and the bridge to that place is more their activities and states of mind and emotional states that bridge your current state to your dream future state. And what it is, it's all about raising your vibration. It's all about getting to a good feeling place, right? And a good feeling place might just be a comfortable place. So when we came back to Brisbane, or when I moved to Brisbane with my partner, I I was not very happy with myself, and I wasn't very happy with just a lot of things being out of my control. And then one day I decided I'm going to go to this event. This girl from my work event, like she invited me to this thing, and I didn't really didn't know what it was, but it sounded like a good idea at the time because I had nothing else. I was like, basically, my state of mind was like, I've got nothing else going on. I may as well go. So she gives me the address. The event starts at 7 p.m. and I drive, right? So I went to work the whole day. I get home, and instead of like resting, I just freshen up to just go to this event. I drive, and I get to the address, and it turns out I was at a completely wrong address. I was on the other side of town, so far away. And in order to get back to where I actually needed to go to make it to that event, I needed to drive all the way past back my house in the other direction. And I was going to be an hour late. And then I was driving. I was driving on the way back. Now, mind you, this was a time where I was really frustrated with my life, but I was ready for something to change. I just needed something to change. And I've driven an hour out the wrong direction, and now I'm going to be an hour late. So I had to ask myself, like, really, this was the moment. And this is how these moments appear. Like, these are how these moments appear when you're about to manifest what you really, really want, which for me at the time was like a change of my life, like a change of my perspective, like just to be able to control my destiny a little bit, this is how it appeared. It appeared as this challenge and a small little question I asked myself: am I, do I really need to go to this event? And I said, well, I can either just go home, it's home is on my way to the event, or I've already said yes to this, so I may as well go. And for some reason, I will never forget this. I got the message in my mind, and it was like, if you go, I bet, no, it said, I bet you this is happening because you're being asked whether you're ready for something to change or not. And I'll never forget that thought, because I was on the highway and I just knew that something was about to happen. Anyway, it was the event when I actually chose to go. I chose to go, and it turns out it was the event. It was like this personal development thing, but it was really the first thing that got, like, everything. It was like the first domino. You know what I mean? That was the first domino to the things that I wanted to manifesting, and it was freaking so wild because the moment was so small. It was just like a little challenge, a little question, and I had to answer the question differently to how I would have answered it in the past. Now, the old version of me would have said, well, I don't really know what this event is. I don't really know what I'm going to get out of it. I don't really know who the people are going to be. I don't know if it's going to be for me. So the old version of me would have said, no, I don't want to go there. I don't need to go there. Plus, I'm tired, so I may as well just go home. And maybe deep down inside, I knew that the new version of me was more of someone who was more willing to trust in myself. And so that was the first domino when it came to manifesting the things that I really, really wanted. Because, sometimes you don't really know exactly what you want. You just want something better than what's there. And that's where I was at. I was at the place where this is all right, but I know that isn't the best. And sometimes they say, okay, when you really want something, when you're setting your goals, make a vision board and, set your goals, be specific. And for me, I could do that. Like, I could have done a vision board, and I think I had done one. Um, but I didn't really have much of a connection with the things that I put on there because I was just in such a lull place in my mindset and in my life, and so I just had to get myself to the next stage. So what I'm saying here is, and the reason why I'm telling you this story is because one of the first signs that you are ready, or you are in the phase of like manifesting what it is that you really, really want, is that it's almost like it's like signs, they're like questions, they come up, or some random thing will come up, almost not as a barrier. It's more of a moment that makes you decide. Like, you will decide, you will be the one to make the decision where you're going to go that way or you're going to go that way. So that's one very clear sign. um it's almost like the universe is saying to you, it just wants your confirmation, right? I was listening to this thing, like, guides and all of this stuff, like, nothing can really sort of get in the way unless you give it permission, right? So it's almost like when these situations come in your life, when you're on the way to getting what you want, it's almost like the universe asking you for confirmation, like, is this really what you want? And in order for you to get there, you have to answer accordingly. And part of answering accordingly is, like, you need to trust yourself. Like, you need to trust that the decision that you're going to make is going to be okay. This applies for, maybe you've had the urge to, like, move to a country you've never been to, or, sometimes you have these urges and you just don't really know what they mean, but for some reason you feel drawn to them. And then random occurrences seem to come around that get you to answer, like, or it strengthens that feeling. So that's one very clear sign that what you really want, is on its way, and it doesn't always appear in the way that you think it's going to appear. It appears differently. It's like a little riddle. But if you can read between the lines and demonstrate some trust and faith, then you will get there. Now, here's another sign, which, now, this sign is more It's not like a fluffy feeling, like, "Ooh, that's so delicious," that feeling. No, this is more of a feeling of, it's a discomfort that is a little bit like, ugh. So it's the feeling of frustration. And sometimes what it is, okay, get this. When you are really on the way to manifesting what you really want in your life, and actually you're almost there, but you're not quite. What happens is you spot yourself, right? You spot yourself going around in circles of the same situation over and over. So have you ever been in a place in your life where um, you want a result, you want something to happen, and you feel like you keep getting opportunities, but the opportunities feel like they're failing you, or these opportunities feel like they're falling through. So you're like, why does it feel so hard? Like, why does my life feel so hard right now? And sometimes this state can really feel disheartening, right? Because you just feel like, well, what on earth am I putting all this energy and faith into, this positive thinking, all of this stuff? Like, what's it for if when the opportunities come around, I'm just being let down all the time? There's always something happening. Is it me? And we, even at this stage, we start to question ourselves. We go, is it me? Am I really a failure? Is it my energy? What's not right? Why am I not getting that thing? And then you start to say to yourself, well, I'm sick of going around in circles. I'm going around and around in circles. This has been happening for 4 years at a time. Um, oh no, hey David, how you going? No, we're talking about signs that what you really want is about to be manifested. And so I'm trying to demonstrate certain feelings or events that come around when what you want is really on its way. Okay, so yeah, so in this case, you might feel like you're going around and around in circles and you start to get disheartened. So at this time, we kind of think, like, what's going on? And in some level, you might even think that it's time to give up. I'm over it. I'm done with this goal. And look, in some ways, that can be the perfect form of surrender because you're finally letting go of something that you want. And then it plays into the thing that you really want. It's quite fascinating, right? So let me paint an example. Hey, David Knight. Hey, Kathy Parker. How are we? David Knight says, do you visualize success? Yes, I do. You mean like visualize in my mind? Yes, and I like to even take it a step further. Lately, what I've really been getting into is practicing the feeling of, and what that kind of looks like is, how you can imagine what you want, right? You can imagine yourself in your dream house or whatever it is that you want to achieve, your dream holiday. Um, but I like to take it a step further and kind of think like I put myself in my being and I imagine that I'm already there. And then I ask myself, do I feel much different or do I feel the same? And I find that when you align, when the feeling is actually like, I feel the same, it's actually closer to the manifestation than what you think. It's almost like you're embodying it. Hey Phil, how you going? Thank you. Got the glasses on today. And so when I take it from the vision part into the feeling and the being state, that's when it actually feels as though the success or whatever it is that I want to achieve is already here. And I find that I find that I don't know, I feel like this speeds up the manifestation. And not just I feel like, I see it. Like something happens. One time I was sort of like journaling and I got this kind of like nudge that I said, this is going to happen today. And I promise you, 30 minutes later, that exact thing happened. No more, no less. And it happened in 30 minutes and I got an email notification about it. Um, but yeah, when it comes to like bringing to fruition things that you want, that's a process, right? And in order to set momentum to those things that you want or to those levels of manifestation, it kind of comes in stages, right? Because here's another thing. Earlier we were talking about going around in circles. In order for you to get out of that circle, because that's the sign. That is the sign that what you want is on its way. But in order to kind of facilitate, you can facilitate the entry point to what it is that you're manifesting by, this is what it looks like in physical life, right? Is by making the decision to allow it in. It's almost like you have to open a portal. You have to open the door to the portal to the next part of your future. Because when you're going around in circles and you don't do that, you end up back in that circle loop, right? And so you're getting the sign over and over. Okay, this is your sign to make a decision differently, or this is a sign to do something differently. And if you don't, and a way to sort of like open the door to the next phase of your life or that manifestation is you have to make a decision that's different from your last ones. So in business, for me, that might look like I'm super used to, even till now, and this is how everything sort of started. I've been so used to doing everything on my own and sort of teaching everyone else to do it my way, and like sort of controlling things the way that I want them to be controlled, or just me. Like I tend to want to do things all by myself. And in the past, where I've had to hire people to help me is because I felt immense pain or frustration. What that would look like is fatigue, burnout. I'd start hating something that I love, because I love doing what I love. But then if I do it too much and like overdrive, then I force myself to, like, in the past, I've had to force myself to hire. And as time has passed, that's become less and less painful. But then when we really think about what it is that I wanted to begin with, like the goal that I actually wanted to achieve, I wanted to achieve a business style which was going to be able to operate with not just me. Because when we talk about freedom of time and freedom of money, that does not look like Kristine doing all the work by herself 24/7. Like it doesn't align, right? But for some reason, if I never got out of that loop, if I never got out of the loop of this is what it has to be, like Kristine has to do it all, I've got to do it all, then where is the bridge to the freedom of time and the freedom of money? Like, do you see how that action does not match that reality that you want? And so what happened was, it was kind of like scary. It was kind of like scary, and uncomfortable, but great. And I had to sort of understand what it looked like when I put my foot off the pedal a little bit. You know what I mean? I put my foot off the pedal, and I really had to rework what this looks like. And I totally agree with you, David. Balance absolutely helps. And to take it further, I think we kind of also need to understand like what balance means to each person. Like a person who has like 3 kids and they already have an existing business and their partner has their own business, and you're going through that growth phase, like balance might be like a little bit lopsided compared to what someone else's balance might be. Or if you've already gotten yourself to the phase where you have assistance in all areas of your life, then you can achieve that balance, or you can just take a lot more time off. And if time off is something that's really important to you and something that you really like, then that can strengthen your definition of balance. But for some people also really love to work. That's like the thing that brings them joy. That's the thing that lights them up. And so balance for that person would look really different to the other. For me, it was more so about doing something different in order to get what I wanted, because I was getting the signs. And for me, the sign came as frustration, and then came the discomfort, because what was happening at the time was I was going around in loops, right? Making the same decisions, getting the same kind of work, working the same kind of hours. And I felt incredibly frustrated. And then when I look at my goal, which is like supposed to be surrounded by a team, like a lean but mean team, and doing this kind of work, at some point, the decision needed to be made to head in that direction. And when it first started, it would be like 1 foot in, then 1 foot out, because it was a bit of a shock. And even still, like I hadn't fully understood what happens after that. Because what happens after that? I was still very much in the doing of things, and then someone else is very much still in the doing of things, and we're both doing. And I never really could imagine what it was like to take the foot off the pedal. So balance is keep stable and substance to keep the balance in order with imbalance. Yes, repetitive loopholes. Yeah, exactly. Repetitive loopholes, which another thing about repetitive loopholes is thinking as though tomorrow is the day that you'll get out of that loop. Tomorrow is the day that you get out of that loop because today isn't the day because it doesn't feel right. And then, or tomorrow or the day after, or maybe next month is a day. But actually, like when we realize that we have, like each moment is an opportunity to exit the loop and actually gravitate towards what it is that we want, then that makes like it kind of shows how infinitely powerful we all are when it comes to attracting what we want sooner rather than later. I mean, I've been in the situation where I've boxed myself up in my timing and what I thought it could be or what it should be at the time in order to get what I wanted. And I think that's probably the thing that prompted me to ask, like, what's going on? Like, if I'm doing like everything that I think I can do, like, why am I still in this loop? And I realized it's because I was still trying to do everything that I could do. And part of the whole attracting what you want or manifesting what you really want is taking your foot off the pedal for a little bit. So it takes time and consistency to get out of that constant annoying loophole. Phil, yes, I noticed. I was like, cool for rock and roll. I was like, this is Phil using my other YouTube account for the rest of the live. Assault the like button. Thanks, guys. So, so other signs that you are that you're ready to manifest what you really, really want. So we've given like two examples, right? One was when you feel like you're frustrated and you're going around in circles. And what we're saying is, in order to get there, you need to like open the door and get to the next phase. So to be like, hi guys, I've arrived at the party. I've taken the signs. I'm ready to take that manifestation. And then the other version is more so like you're already there. You kind of have to know that you're already there. Do you know what I mean? Similar to the story that I was telling you before, when I was in the car and I made the wrong turn or I went in the wrong direction, I was actually already there in the space where all I had to do was make the decision in the right direction, literally head in the right direction. And some people, like, if we don't listen to that, like that question or that voice or that, like that nudge, we ignore the moment. We ignore the opportunity to make a conscious decision to sort of enter or to magnetize ourselves to the direction that we want. And this might even appear like, for example, to put it, give another practical example. Let's say you're at your job and you come across, like on the weekend, you find someone who's doing something that you love and it instigates this feeling. And you look at it and you admire it so much. And then you have a choice, right? It's that little moment. And it's just like a little tiny nudge. And it asks you, would you want to have a chat with that person maybe and find out like what they did in order to get there? Or, sometimes you have these little nudges. And and the other option is to like not say anything at all and just say, oh, good for them. I wish that was me. Or I've always wanted to do that. And then walk in the other direction and carry on with your life. And then that's like the picture of you going back into that loophole that was already there. In the meantime, you had an opportunity. And I really think that we get these opportunities very regularly, especially when our desires are burning and they're there and we're aware of them. So, Aishu, hi. Or one can also bring along repetitive cycles with pointless people, yes, who will leave one hanging on standby as an object than human being. Avoid people who want to waste time. Those are users. And I think, Phil, don't you reckon like that we get the feeling as well? You get the feeling, like you'll get the feeling when you're surrounded. I think you get the feeling when you're surrounded by people that you're ready to move on from. And what that looks like is it can look like frustration, or you can kind of feel a little bit trapped. Or your first feeling is when you think about your gathering, or when you think about, the first response is like, I don't want to, or no. So here's the thing, right? Like with all of these circumstances, there's two things that come up, right? It's the ego and the intuition. And we've mentioned this in past episodes, but there's a very fine line between ego and intuition. Because sometimes ego can be disguised as, I'm trying to think of an example. Ego can be disguised as it's like safety. And it's like telling you, oh, don't do that because if you do that, you're going to lose this. But one way that I distinguish ego from intuition is I try to feel out whether the feeling that I'm getting is expansive or if it's putting me in a place of fear, right? So, for example, at that time when I was going to drive to that event that night, which is the first domino to changing the trajectory of my life, I had two thoughts. One was go home, rest. Like you've had a big day, plus you've driven in the other direction, just go home and rest. And that sounds like intuition, right? Because it sounds cozy and it sounds comfortable. And then the other one was like, you're already here, just go. So the other one sounds like more effort. But between the two, the one which required action and a different decision outside of the comfort zone was actually the intuition. And I'm glad that I followed it because it really was like the first thing that I needed to do. And then the other one, the ego, was kind of like disguised as this like cozy, like cuddly feeling. You get to go home, you get to put your feet up and like sort of relax it just at home. But had I done that, nothing would have changed. Or maybe something would have changed, but like maybe a year from them. So in this instance, it kind of like sped things up. So yeah, so talking about friendships, having one-sided friendships or unrealistic expectations, listen to your intuition and gut feeling. And I think like here, I think our community here is I think we get that intuition and ego really play the tango a little bit. And it's kind of like up to us to be like to distinguish whether this moment feels expansive or this opportunity feels expansive, or if the opportunity is more rooted from fear and, FOMO, fear of missing out. If I don't this, then this isn't going to happen. And it's almost like if I had anything to say about ego, it's almost like looking at it, you kind of know that it's ego if the end feeling is saying you don't want this to happen to you, if you know what I mean. It's like you don't, if you do this, you don't want this to happen to you. Um, it's kind of like got a, I don't want to say negative. It's got more of a compacting. So you got expansing, things that help you expand, and things that make you like compact or feel smaller. That's how I distinguish ego from intuition. And honestly, sometimes it's just about practicing it because in the practice of making decisions every day, we get those opportunities to understand, and you'll only find out once you make the decision, right? So, never listen to people who give you bad vibes, from sharp tone of sarcasm, not always dependable. Have you ever had to fire a friend, give them the hook? You mean like, have I ever stopped being friends with someone? I feel for me, it's more of it happens. I feel as though, like, in short, yes, there's definitely been friends that I've lost touch with, but I think oftentimes it's happened naturally as a byproduct. Not to say I've never had confrontations. I've had a couple of confrontations in my life, but they're not bad ones. Confrontation just kind of in my life kind of looks just like having a conversation about something that maybe I I wasn't like resonating with, or the other person wasn't resonating with. And then as a natural thing that happened after that, we weren't hanging out as much. But I think in times, I think it's important to kind of talk it out anyway. even if you think that it's not going to be the best conversation in the world. Because for me, if there's something like a burning feeling, it's better to put it on the table than to leave things unspoken about and kind of be like, no one knows what just happened. But in terms of my friendships, my best friendships are so low maintenance. Like a lot of them are with people that I don't have to speak with very often to know that we're good friends. And then when we do speak, it's like nothing ever changed. I have a question for you. Has have you ever been that in that situation where you've had to fire a friend, and how did it feel? How did you approach it? I like the intuition more than the ego. The ego creates narcissism, chaos of one's actions, and the list goes on to greed, manipulation, and wickedness. Watch out for the burning bush. Mm. Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd say I like to lean into. If we said like there was a choice to consistently lean into, hey, hair growth girl, how are you? My family's been in town and I've been out of touch, but I'm coming back consistently on the gram. We're talking about signs that you know that what you want is on its way to being manifested. Um, but yeah, I think at every moment we have the opportunity to make decisions from the intuition and the ego. And I really think that no, you're definitely not late, Sheila May. Welcome back. Um, hmm. I'm trying to think. So I'm part of this. I always talk about these programs that I'm in, but I learn a lot from them and I apply them regularly because I feel like something changes. And I find that stepping into the next stage or moving into the person that you want to be, like it does when you become aware of your old behaviors that haven't really done the best for you, and you become aware of the behaviors or the things that you want moving forward. What actually happens on a daily basis is that you'll be in your life and you pull yourself up. And for me, what's been happening is I'd ask myself the question like, is this an is this in love or is this in fear? Is this an ego? Is this in intuition? For me personally, for the longest time of my life, and even till now, I'm like quite hard on myself. I think in a lot of ways. For example, in my ability to take action. Sometimes I'll take action and I'll feel like it's not enough, and then sometimes I'll be too tired to take action, and then I will feel like, why are you so tired? You know? And so like I would like question myself, like question my physicality, question my being, question my dedication and my commitment. Um, and and what came of that was when I started to surrender, when I started to do meditations, when I started to understand that every single person, every single human being is different, and we all have a different context of our life, why we are the way we are, and then what connects your current state of being to your future state of being. When I started to understand that everything was okay and that everyone is perfect as they are in that moment, I started to take it a lot easier on myself. Really, what pushed this forward was it was the meditation. It was kind of understanding the real meaning of like self love, and not so much in the I want to go shopping, let's go to the spa, let's get our hair done. Not in that sense, but it was more so like the definition of true unconditional self love, loving yourself when you're not at your best. When I started understanding that, it actually allowed me to recontextualize what I thought, um, recontextualize everything, recontextualize what I thought I needed to be, in order to be, in order to get what I want, in order to attract success, in order to enjoy and things like that. Is it easy for you to accept that everyone is perfect the way they are? Um, consci- I think this is like a question of conscious decision making. I feel as though, let's give an example. Imagine you're in a room with someone who really gets under your skin for some reason, right? then let's say we ask the question, is it easy for you to accept that everyone is perfect the way they are? Now, if you're stuck in a room with someone that you really don't like for some reason, that's okay because you don't have to like everyone. Um, so you may accept that person as they are, but it's almost like to get there, most of us would have to think, um, what's the reason why I don't like this person? Is it because this person is like, oh my gosh, by the way, let me tell you a true life story that just happened. Are we going to talk about this? Some major things like happened. So, major but not major. It's kind of crazy. I'm just going to tell you. Okay, so um so in the you may or may not know that my family lives all over like they live in different states to me. So in my physical life, I don't live in close proximity to my family members, my mom, my dad, my brothers. And in order for us to see each other, most of us have to get on a flight. Anyway, when we first moved to Brisbane, one of the things that I really mourned was, and I think I now realize that I was going through like a grieving phase. But when I realized that we left Australia, we left Dubai, came back to Australia, and that my immediate family was nowhere near. Kristine, you need a mic. Do you mean like literally like right now because my sound is bad? Or do you mean like I need a mic, like a platform? Um, but okay, so this is what happened. Um, I was really sad like 7 years ago when we moved back to Brisbane, and I realized, like, it dawned on me, "Oh, you're not gonna be close to your family." Like, what the heck? That's what oh, is it there's no sound? David, do you mean there's no sound? Can you let me know if you mean that literally? Or maybe I should take this off. We can't like everybody, especially there's a reason behind it. Okay, hang on. So okay. All right, so 2 things. So to answer hair growth girl, I think, um, for me, yeah, it's very, like it's very normal that we all don't like every single person, like, and be like, "I like you, I like you, I like you, I like you." But, I feel like when I find that if I'm not if it's not working, I always ask, like, "Why is that?" And I try to see, like, is that because there's a part of me that that person's mirroring that I feel separated or I is in my shadow, like I've sort of dissociated with, and oftentimes that's the case, right? And then sometimes I'll be like, well, you're a human being, so that's totally fine. Don't judge yourself for not liking that person. But do I think that everyone is perfect the way they are? Is it easy for me to accept? I think if we're talking about it from that respect where everyone is perfect exactly the way they are, I would say as an overarching, like, and as an umbrella answer, I would say yes. Um, I just think that if I were to rephrase my answer and go a bit deeper, it's more that I think everyone's got their own journey. And because of that journey, we all create the state that we're in. Our behaviors, our habits, our states of minds, the place that we want to go to, the places that we don't want to go to. They're all created by the context of our life and our soul's journey. So in many ways, I just think that for in that alone, I think that it's perfect. It's like this complex. The world is just like this complex, amazing thing where there's just ongoing. It's just magical. It's crazy. Now, here's a story I want to tell you. I know. Should I put it like I need a mic to like connect to my computer, but let's see if I can talk like this. So what happened was when my no, I really can't. I've got to talk like this. So the crazy thing is my my family and I live sort of like far apart from each other. And at the beginning, I really resented that. Like 7 years ago, I was in deep resentment. This is one of the things that I just simply could not accept. And I felt like I was mourning the loss of something that was going to happen forever. And then as I was going and learning and changing and growing and becoming, developing new habits, I was kind of like forced into creating an identity, not just an identity separate to them, like in a bad way, but we're talking about influence here. Like you're influenced by the people that you're around. You're influenced by your family. You're influenced by the people who, especially people that you love the most, right? And in doing this, you kind of discover a lot of sort of behaviors that you want to sort of ready to disconnect with, right? And so I was doing that, and this in this time there was a lot of things that caused a little bit of friction with close people in my life, because I couldn't see, you know what I mean, like I was trying to separate from certain trains of thought, frame of mind, da 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 da, and sometimes something would be said that would like really trigger me, because I'm like, why is it like that, why do they think like that? And then what happened was, the first week that my mum was here, I felt like two things. One was so overjoyed, like that was everything. And then there was part of me that I felt like I was in such a judgmental place. I got to admit it. I've got to admit it. I was so judgmental, and I think because there were things that we were so similar about, that I think at some point I didn't want to be like. Not because they were bad, not because they were bad at all or anything, but more so that I don't know, maybe you decondition yourself, you recondition yourself, right? And I must have conditioned myself into thinking that, this kind of behavior is, for example, I now respect routines in some ways, right? I'm not a heavily routine person, but I get it. And I created my own routines where I get up, we've talked about this in the past. I get up, do the meditation, do the things that I want to do, and then carry on with the day. My mum's the opposite. Um, and it was like I would sit there and I'd be like, And then I would ask myself, so there was like this internal battle of, Kristine, why are you being so judgmental? Like, don't be so judgmental. Like the way, like she's perfect the way she is. Da, 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 da. And I really felt this kind of tension within myself. You may have seen it. Like, I think it a week or two ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I went live, and it was around the time that I was feeling this internal conflict. Anyway, this story is going somewhere, I promise you. So this went for about a week. And what was actually happening was, in the morning, I would wake up with a little bit of anxiety. Like I felt anxious, and it had been a while since I felt that. This kind of like, I didn't know why, discomfort. It was like this discomfort. And I think that it was part of me that was wanting the day to go perfect for them, because I cared so much about, them having a great experience. But then there was also like this deep fear, like something was going to go wrong. And out of what? That's what anxiety is. It's when you worry so much about what hasn't happened yet that it starts to feel real on the inside. Anyway, one day, so this was like on the fifth or sixth day. So I had sensed already. I had sensed that I was already feeling this kind of tension inside, and then I was making it worse for myself by judging myself for being judgy. And I said, you know what, just chill out, okay? Just calm down, Kristine. Like, let it be. Like, if this wasn't your relationship, how would you be? I'd be like, I probably care less, which is good. Like, that would be nice. There would be less tension. I wouldn't be so judgy. And I said, okay, we'll just do that. And the energy changed that day. But then that night, I did what I wanted, more of that clarity. I wanted more of that. Guys, what I'm getting at here is healing, and what that looked like, because this is very much in line with our topic today, signs that you're manifesting what you really want. And for a long time during that personal development thing, it was great because I felt like I was growing, but then I was feeling separation from people that I love a lot, like so much. Um, and and this was when I got the sign that it was happening. The healing that needed to happen it was here right now, and I was getting it. And so it was like a week of this unexpected kind of like anxious feeling. And I couldn't really figure it out. I was like worried that I was going to get out of my routine, worried that I knew that in this moment there was kind of to be growth business wise. And I thought I was going to be busier, and therefore, I don't know whether it was that. But anyway, skip to moving forward. It was like the seventh day or sixth night, whatever. And I was like this. I don't know if you guys meditate, pray, speak to your spirit guides, whatever but you just put it out there. You just put the message out there. And I'm like, normally when I ask for this, I actually get the answers. I get the answers in very literal ways. And this time I just said, tell me what to do. Like, tell me in my sleep tonight, tell me what to do. Tell me what I need to do. That was it. And then I went to sleep, and then I had the calmest sleep. So I had no dreams. So there was no message in my sleep, right? I just had a really good sleep, and I woke up. And when I woke up the next day, again, the very first feeling I had, like, and I could feel it was kind of like in my chest. It was like that pang of anxiety, just a little bit, but enough to notice. And I said, I asked, it was, but I was like half asleep, half awake, and I asked the question. I said, "Why?" It's like, "Why do I feel this is anxiety?" He said, "Why do I feel this?" And the answer was, "Oh, you're worried that something's going to fail today." And then I said, "Why do I feel like? Why would I feel like something's going to fail today? Like the day hasn't even happened." Like I felt like I had gone through all of this already in the past, and I'd already worked it out. Okay, so then I go, so why do I feel this anxiety today? Oh, because you think that something's going to go wrong today, something's going to fail. And I was like, why do I think that? So I was like I was like half asleep, and I was having a conversation. I was having a conversation with the vibes, with the universe. And the answer was like trauma. Now, people think that trauma is like this trauma has to be super like trauma, like something really bad that happened. But sometimes trauma, it's to my understanding, trauma can be something where something happened, it ignited a feeling which caused you to feel something that wasn't a positive feeling. And the thing was, so in my childhood, there was a little joke that was played, right? And that joke led me to think like I was a child. So automatically in my child brain, I thought that like my mum wasn't going to come back and no one is going to come back and I was going to be left like, and all these belief systems were born at that very moment in my childhood. And then what happened after that moment as a kid, every day after that moment, every time like my mum left, I would feel this feeling of anxiety, like so worried that she was never going to come back. And I don't know why I thought that, like I was just young. And this whole feeling came from a joke, like it was just a joke, but I must have had an internal fear of that happening. So anyway, fast forward all the way to now in my adult life, just a week ago, I sensed that I'm like not feel. I sense this feeling of anxiety, and I was asking the question like, okay, I've been feeling this every day since my mum's been here. Hadn't seen my mum for like 2 or 3 years, and I've been having this feeling every day. Why am I feeling? Oh, what is this feeling? Oh, it's a feeling of anxiousness. Okay, why am I feeling this feeling? Because you're worried that something's going to fail today. Why do I think something's going to fail today? The one word popped up. It just said trauma. And I said, and it brought me right back to that moment. I'm such a visual person. And in the past lives, I've explained how when I've done some healing modalities, I've visualized certain things, even though I'm in full consciousness. And that's exactly what happened. It said trauma. And I remember that moment in my childhood when that joke was played and I thought that my mom was never going to come back. And then I was like, you know what happened after that? I was like, oh, then it's all good. I was like, because that's just like a figment of my imagination. Guys, you would not believe after all of that drama, it was like I something was let go. It was like that trauma was recognized. It was able to be brought up to the surface, and the whole week it was trying to come up to actually, no, it wasn't trying. It was brought up to the very surface. It was in the front of my heart, it was in the front of my mind. And the way that it was manifesting was through judgment, through separation, through those kinds of feelings, and me trying to suppress it. And so the first step was really like to say, okay, babe, you are doing the judgments, you are making the judgments, but that doesn't make you a bad person. There's just something going on, and that's okay. Let it be. Once I said that that was okay, it kind of made that feeling dissolve. It dissolved another layer of judgment of myself. It dissolved that. And once that was dissolved, um, I was able to see a little bit more clearly, but it was like it was like an intensive retreat at my house. And you wouldn't tell it because we're just coexisting. Like, and that's what I mean about transformation and opportunities, moment to moment opportunities to choose to transform. And interestingly enough, the rest of the time that they were here, it was like another 2 weeks and they just left just recently. Everything was excellent. It was like, honestly, like something dissolved. It was like the trauma was trying to come up to the surface and I was trying to deal with it. And I just didn't really know how because truthfully, sometimes some things just don't seem like a big enough deal to try to face them, but they also don't seem calm enough to want to suppress them, if that makes any sense. Sometimes we have to wait for something really dramatic, really, really painful to go and like solve it and deal with it. And sometimes things just don't seem like anything enough to even think about it. And this was that, where is in fact what was happening in physical life, emotionally, like inside and outside. It was like the healing was coming full circle. The healing was really, really coming full circle. Like the trauma from the childhood was coming now to the surface to be acknowledged. And now let's like patch you right up. You're all good to go. So that was quite a blessing. That was such a great little exercise to put me through, wasn't it? Let's catch up. All right. So, hair growth girl, exactly this anxious feeling that you're talking about when I don't understand how they can act when it comes to their thinking. Oh, preach, girl. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like when it comes to their health choices. Yep, 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 yep. Their thinking and decision making, and and then you know what? I had to remind myself. I'm like, well, they raised us, and we turned out all right. So who am I to judge? And then I judge myself for judging them. Okay. I feel anxious, especially the life that we're living now. Trauma can be awful and dreadful. I have experienced it through my roller coaster. It's a challenge to test your strength to overcome it. Learning the lesson of a stressful, unwanted situation. Yes. Kristine, do you think it's okay to go in a rabbit hole and concentrate solely on yourself? Um, in what way? I think, no, you know what? If I'm understanding this question correctly, I think I think it's I think it's worth investigating certain thoughts and beliefs if you know they're there. Um, to concentrate solely on yourself, I'm I've I'm trying to picture what that means. Maybe because when we're talking through these lives, it almost seems a bit self-obsessive. And this is one thing that was kind of like uh, I was being what I felt repelled from with all of the personal development and spiritual journeys. And in some ways, I felt, or in some times even, it's not some ways, but there are seasons where I feel repelled by it because it's almost like we're not giving ourselves a chance to just breathe and be how we are today in this moment. Um, but I think it is kind of like uh, concentrate solely on yourself. Well, I believe that ourselves are the only real thing that we have a level of true. That's a good question. I want to say ourselves are the only true thing that we have control of, but do we really want to control everything? Maybe not. But I think I really like the study of like self-awareness. I really do. And I think when it comes to concentrating solely on self, I think a big part of that recipe is understanding um, behaviors and thought patterns, but also understanding how to like chill out and like calm down on yourself, like let yourself be. Um, so so in that way, I think if there's the balance of how much you participate and how much you try to tweak yourself, but also fully accept yourself. Yeah, I think there's a recipe towards that, the improvement, but also self-acceptance, 100% self-acceptance in the moment. To control your emotions and thoughts and overcome, eat healthy and exercise, riding a mountain bike to exercise the legs is for blood. Yes. My mum loves a bike ride. Need new tools to help face the challenges. One, don't get comfortable. a place, or with a person, which can cause anxiety, learn to be detached. About taking the hard look at what's going on. Then you take the steps to fix anything that may be out of kilter. When you live an easy life, it will be hard for one in the long run down the road ahead. Then you take the steps to fix anything. It's more so, this is such a great question. Really, Brisbane best wellness coach. Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm just going to screenshot that. No, just kidding. You can only control yourself, but do you really want to control everything? Yes. You just took the words out. Like, that's exactly what I was thinking. I think like personal development and self-awareness is really important in the way that we operate in an ecosystem. We're all part of an ecosystem, right? We're part of a collective. We're surrounded by people. And in that case, sometimes that self-awareness is what we need in order to allow or to encourage those relationships to flourish. That self-awareness is what we need in order to understand behaviors that don't work when it comes to manifesting the things that we want. Sometimes there are just simply thought patterns or limiting beliefs that's why they're called limiting beliefs, is because they limit you from understanding your true power and your capacity. So that kind of introspection, I think, is very valuable when it comes to empowering and allowing you to thrive to get what it is that you want. And that's in all areas of life. But I think maybe what in this whole journey, what can often be forgotten to be acknowledged is that it's totally 100,000% okay to be where you are today and be how you are today, and that everything is perfect as it is today. I mean, life is a journey, right? As like cheesy as it sounds, like it's a journey. We live, and then we die. It's like that's just how it's gonna. You're born, you live your life, and then you die. And so, and in the context of that, in the context of being in this world and being alive, then the concentration on self plays a little role, but I don't know whether it should really run everything, because getting into analysis paralysis can also be really detrimental to just enjoying life. Like, you don't want to overanalyze yourself so much so that you're out of touch with reality, and it can have an adverse effect where you focus so much on yourself that you stop living. And it's kind of a bit of a recipe. It's a bit of balance in that sense. And what happened, this is what I noticed so far, like I've noticed about myself, and maybe anyone else who's sort of consciously embarked on some sort of transformation journey, is at the beginning when the lessons are so new, and we go, wow, I didn't know that. I never, like, I don't know how to apply that, or I've just learned how to apply that. And all of a sudden you can see everyone else that you want to apply it to. What can happen is it's like this like slingshot. You're like over here, and you go bop, 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 pew, and you head up right to the other side, right? You've gone so far to the other side that it seems like a bit much, a bit too far. But then what happens over time as you learn the lessons, you recalibrate, you take those lessons, and then you like the slingshot will always come back to the center, or whatever, the rubber thing. And it's a beautiful thing once you get to that calibration. It's almost like I'm trying to think of something where you've just gone full speed ahead and you've just gone so far and it's everything. But then there's a moment where you actually, your learnings, your manifestations, all of this stuff, it calibrates into your being, and then it just becomes normal. It's just like you version 2.0 or 3.0. Kristine, let me rephrase this. When we take the time to help ourselves to evolve, it benefits everyone else. Oh, I understand. Live your life, speak your truth, stand up to people, gain the confidence first, know who you really are, and trust your intuition. Hear others' opinions and suggestions and take it from there. Yes, you guys speak this so succinctly. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. I really love you guys. I look forward to this every Friday, as you may have heard me say in the past, but I really do. So thanks for being here with me today. Enjoyed our chat. I'll be back next week, next Friday. And I did get my human design chart read. Very complex stuff. Very interesting. We mentioned this. I mentioned this like a few weeks ago about human design. Find out if you know your birth date, birth time, birth location. You can Google it, and you'll find out what your human design type is. It's very interesting. I don't know enough about it to talk about it right now, but I am having a chat with Beck, who has been studying it for years and understands it more. It's not so much a tool that it doesn't dictate who you are. It kind of just can give you it can kind of tell you a little bit about some of the tendencies that you have that are not related to, your upbringing, or, something that's almost just uniquely yours based on this. So my wife asked me, who the hell is that woman? I said she is an online counselor. What should we talk about next week? What should we talk about next week? Sometimes I wonder what we're going to talk about. Anybody want to talk about anything in particular? Let me know, or shall I just keep carrying on this way where I find out what happened in the week and we deconstruct it? All right, then. Thank you again, and I'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to buy some David Bowie albums. Oh, pink. All right. So now I know that's what you're into, Phil. All right, then. Thank you again, and okay, I'll check out. Can I check some out on Spotify? Thank you. And yeah, if you ever think of any topics, please let me know. Anything even specific, that would be super helpful. That way I know, you know, how we can steer this. Alrighty. Thank you again. Have a great night. Have a great day. Have a good morning, wherever you are. And I'll see you next Friday. Ciao, ciao.